Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whatever you find a way to watch or listen to this. It's me, Omar Sean Bora, the Burger Popper, waking up not early, but on time to do a quick recording before work, before I pack my duffel bag for work with friend of the podcast. We have Brock Vieira of NBS Media and of MNS Today talking about a little bit Hawaii, a little bit of UMass, a little bit conference realignment topic, I guess, just like a brief discussion. So, Brock, how's everything going?
Everything's going everything's going good. I appreciate you having me back on the show. I always enjoy doing these, whether it's with you or with Jackson, and I'm just happy to talk about Hawaii football again.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I've been using the term peak off-season content, but it's anytime you can talk any topic of ball or anything, any semblance of football news during the off-season is very welcome as we speak today. The American and the Mountain West conference schedules, not conference schedules, but I guess schedules in general with dates will release today. So that's welcome news for any college football fan. But without further ado, the big news of this week is, I guess, not the playoff expanding from 12 to 14 without playing a game in the 12 team format. That's a podcast, excuse me, that's a podcast for another time or a discussion for another time. But instead, the biggest news of the week is UMass joining a conference, finally rejoining the MAC in as a full sports member this time, not a football only affiliate. And of course, the question becomes, as it was with Army when they joined the American in the fall of 2023, is what are they going to do with all these games? Like, which games will stay for non-conference and which games will not stay? And of course, I brought on Brock, my resident Hawaii and Mountain West expert, to discuss, the home and home. I guess I wouldn't say that it's the elephant in the room, but one that kind of sticks out is a Hawaii series at UMass scheduled. So in 2026 on Thanksgiving weekend, UMass will once again travel to Hawaii, like on the actually 10th anniversary of when they did the first time, and likewise the next year 10 years after hosting Hawaii at venerable McGuirk Alumni Stadium. They will do so again as they're scheduled to. But that game looks to be in jeopardy with UMass joining a conference. So, I mean, you don't need to have a geography degree to know, that there is little benefit to UMass playing Hawaii and Hawaii traveling to the Bay State. But I guess Brock, um, your thoughts on this series being in jeopardy. I mean, will Hawaii fans even care, or is it a huge impact, or is it an impact to the program?
I think Hawaii fans will care to the extent that this is a very winnable game every time Hawaii plays UMass, but beyond that, there's not going to be very much care at all. There's no real historic rivalry. Fans don't really care about that great 2016 game when Nick Rolovich got Hawaii Bowl eligible for like the first time in over 5 years, and actually at that point it was 6 years. And again, there's no real benefit to either team for to continue the series from a fan standpoint. UMass doesn't really travel to Hawaii except for the diehards, just because of how expensive it is. Hawaii fans are not traveling to Massachusetts, so it's not going to make much of an impact if this game is taken off the schedule.
That's a good point too. I mean, you know, I guess the usual suspects that travel to Hawaii would be, of course, the West Coast schools, and I mean, the diehards, like you said, would travel to UMass ones that catch every game. But I think this time around, those that missed the boat 10 years ago, now will see their opportunity to go to Hawaii or an excuse to go to Hawaii, especially during Thanksgiving weekend. I can't imagine the prices of those flights during Thanksgiving weekend to fly to Hawaii. It'll be truly dreadful. Very, very dreadful at that. But yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think that the one thing I miss, and I want to get your input on that, is the fact is, I guess, like the if they do reschedule this game, is like the placement of this game, on the schedule, where this game's Thanksgiving weekend, and it's the season finale for both teams for the regular season, and it's just like in the past, the Hawaii season finale was a treat for a lot of Power Five schools. Someone that I reference all the time is Brian Kelly, coach Cincinnati, winning the Big East, and then winning the Big East the week before, and then struggling against a let's see, it was 2000, yeah, 2009, yeah, struggling against a Greg Alexander led Hawaii squad um on the final week of the season in December in Hawaii. So I guess like that's I guess is it refreshing to see a school play a destination game in the final week of the season in Hawaii?
Yes, I used to love it because it was a tradition that would bring the best football around the country to the islands. And whenever that you are a diehard University of Hawaii football supporter like I am, the best parts was when Hawaii was competitive. Just to an extent of their own conference, they could go out and beat anybody in the nation if they played in Hawaii, as we almost saw with Cincinnati, and as we've seen with various teams in years past. And we've seen Oklahoma come down to Hawaii and struggle. We've seen Iowa come down to Hawaii and lose. Wisconsin came down to Hawaii and lost back in the day. USC would come down. They never, unfortunately, lost to Hawaii. But sometimes those games would be very, very competitive, especially if they were towards the end of the year. Some of my favorite ones, maybe not for you, are the military matchups. Because when Hawaii would schedule Navy or Army to end the season, those games would always be fantastic. They would draw great crowds, and just because, of course, the military presence, United States military presence on the islands, and it was just a lot of fun. And unfortunately, we have been losing that as fans over the past several years. And I think UMass, unfortunately, will be the next casualty. And I believe it's been after the 2019 season, Hawaii has yet to play a 13 game schedule, if I'm not mistaken. Because I don't believe they did. They did it in 2020. I don't believe they did during Todd Brown's final year. And I'm confident that they haven't done so yet at the Timmy Chang, considering that their final regular season home game was against a Mountain West opponent. Last year was Colorado State. The year before was UNLV. So unless Hawaii is willing, or whatever's going on with the powers that may be, is willing to bring back that final senior night non-conference game, I just don't see how these games with UMass will continue to exist.
Yeah, so Hawaii has played a 13 game schedule the last 3 years. I know it seems
They
kind of
have.
odd. Yeah, they have. I just checked like they went 6-7 in 2021 and then I think 3-10 in
Wow,
2022
my
and this
memory
past
is
year.
so off. I would like to retract everything I just said, except the part where Hawaii has ended the year against an in-conference opponent, and
That is true.
I would like to see that change.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and I think the thing that kind of gets me is college football is becoming about the playoff and less about, tradition and even just like doing stuff for fun. Like I just think about like someone else pointed out that, it's weird that we have, video of this game from 1999 with Tom Brady playing for Michigan, the week after the Ohio State Michigan game, or I should say the game playing in Hawaii for whatever reason against a winless Hawaii team. And it just shows that teams used to do stuff not because, it would bring BCS titles or playoff titles, but because it was fun. Like, fun for fans and fun for the players, which is just a sad side effect of the playoff and everything. College football focusing on the playoff, and I mean, I do agree with the Service Academy games. Like, I do like how in I guess yeah, in 20, I think it's like 2013 and 2019, how Army ended the season as an Army fan with Hawaii. Now those games didn't end well, but the 2019 game was a great high scoring affair to end the year. So I do miss that series for sure. We'll probably never get that series back with Army joining the American. But I mean, couldn't agree more. I guess going on with like non-conference schedules, um, and and um, and Hawaii. Hawaii just announced the addition of the game with Delaware State, and of course, that game is a late replacement for Oregon, who bowed out. Which, like, of course, as a group of five school, and much more so Hawaii, you're upset with Oregon for canceling out on the game, but you understand you're playing in 17,000 Clarence TC Ching Stadium or complex. There's no visitors locker room. So it makes sense that Oregon would want to buy out of that game. But I mean, this looks to be a growing problem with the Hawaii program where they're not drawing Power Five schools to come to the island, or teams are going to back out. I mean, 2025, the I guess the FBS team that they're getting to come to the island is Sam Houston. So I want to know your thoughts on like this problem. Like, will it get any better, you think, Brock, or is this just a sign of the future?
No, because we have idiotic individuals in places of power in the Hawaii state government. And I'm not going to turn your show political or anything like that. But when you have a state showing their ass to the world when it comes to certain legal issues, I forget what the exact thing was, but the state of Hawaii referenced the law of the splintered paddle as one of the legal arguments, which one that was made in the 1700s under King Kamehameha. So I don't think that has a legal precedent in 2024. And secondly, that was made under a not even like unified Hawaiian government, and yet you try to use that as a basis for a United States legal argument. Those are the type of people that we have in charge of the new Aloha Stadium development, whatever it's called, NASED, NASDAQ, whatever it is. Those are the type of people that are in charge. So I don't see Hawaii playing outside of TC Ching as a home venue anytime soon. And then because of that, we are losing these high marquee matchups. I mean, I remember the Pac-12, even when it was the Pac-10, teams would always come down. I mean, I think the reference that we all allude to when it comes to a great Hawaii versus Pac-12, Pac-10 matchup is 2007, Jake Locker and the 4-8 Huskies coming down to Hawaii. Cole Brennan and the boys are trying to go undefeated in the regular season. It's a great fiery matchup between a rising Hawaii team and, you know, downwards Washington team. But those examples are written over time. Hawaii versus Michigan State. I mentioned Hawaii versus Iowa, Hawaii versus Wisconsin. I think that there might have been like a Hawaii versus Cal in Australia matchup in 2016. That was a lot of fun. Like these things, Hawaii isn't supposed to always have to travel to the mainland to play these power matchups. They're supposed to have these home and home series. But until the powers that be get their affairs in order, like you mentioned, what is the motivation? And it's very irritating for me that the Oregon canceled this game because this is supposed to be Dylan Gabriel's return to the islands. Right? It was supposed to be like this great celebration. They were able to do it at Chevy Cordero because he played in conference. But what are we doing as an island if our young players are going off to these bigger programs and we can't even bring them back for one game? It's a disgrace. It's a stain on the program. It's a stain on the state, and it's a stain on the state of affairs that is Hawaii in general.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, and as it's just getting worse, honestly, and more evident to the country with Oregon cancel the game. And again, like I feel bad for Dylan Gabriel, where he said that he was excited to play at Hawaii this year, and then now, I mean, that game's just simply not there. So yeah, I definitely agree. I hope teams don't continue to cancel it. Like good on UCLA for staying with their game because they have the money to back out of the contract. You know, they have that Big Ten money coming. Excuse me. But you know, we'll see because there is little incentive for teams to go to Hawaii. Like it is fun, but it's like it's not like you can sell tickets as part of a or I guess sell access to tickets as part of a season ticket package. Which is like a huge thing for I guess a lot of schools where they have marquee road games and access to those tickets is a selling point for season ticket packages. You don't really have that, I guess, with the Clarence Ching complex.
You
It's
know,
just too small for that.
Clarence TC Ching is barely an upgrade over a high school stadium. If Clarence TC Ching was placed in the state of Texas, that'd probably be ranked as like the 16th best high school stadium in the state. That's how bad the state of the affairs in Hawaii is. I mean, I remember when I was, I think it's seventh grade, there was like a Catholic Schools League track event at TC Ching, and the only thing they've upgraded since then is I think they installed a new field and they put like end zone seats, and that's it. Those bleachers, I'm not mistaken, are the same bleachers my mother sat on all those years ago to watch me throw a shot put, 3 times before we went home. Like it's utterly ridiculous that Hawaii can't get it together to be not with the times, but at least within the century. Aloha Stadium was iconic because it hosted such incredible college games, Pro Bowls, events, whatever. But if we're breaking it down, it was a rust bucket. And if I may be frank, as much as I love that stadium, it was a shitty, rusty, run down 1980s, good for nothing. You could take the orange seats out and take them home. Rust bucket. Like no one was sitting in the yellow seats at events unless Bruno Mars is in town because like what was the point? The upper level concessions out here have been used since like 2010, and that was what we're trying to aspire to get back to. If Hawaii doesn't find a proper home, you teams are not going to come. FBS teams are not going to come. What's the incentive for them? They fly in on what, a Friday, have a quick luau, play on Saturday, fly out that night. Then you got to deal with players' jet lag and deal with travel costs and all that stuff. It's just not going to happen. I think that UMass is going to cancel. I think a lot of their home games against Power Four teams are going to cancel, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few years Hawaii could get a non-conference game at home against a team that's quote unquote higher caliber than let's say Sam Houston State. That's just where the program is at the moment, and unfortunately, the events that happened recently are laying the foundation for the program to maybe not even exist in a decade, and that's a troubling thought to have.
Yeah, it's terrifying, really, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna play, I guess, devil's advocate against UMass canceling. So the math kind of works out for UMass because as it is, I think they have 7 or 8 non-conference games scheduled. Or I think it is 7 non-conference games scheduled, and 3 of those are against MAC schools that are gonna have to disappear anyway. So as it stands right now, they will have 4 non-conference games after those MAC games, those MAC conference games. Um, they pretty much disappear from the schedule because they're against their in conference schools. So I do think Hawaii will stay on the schedule the following year. They might have to restructure the deal though the following year for the return visit to McGuirk because UMass is overbooked and they can't use the Hawaii exemption for a 13th game. UMass can't, that is. Hawaii can, of course. So I will say that series is safe, but it is a troubling thought where it's just like these Power Five games are disappearing. And it's like again, like there is little incentive. I mean, for I guess Power Five schools, like we've said, to come by, and who can blame them? Really, like who can blame them honestly? But yeah, it's very yeah.
If I may make a counter argument to that,
Okay.
it's still 2 years out for 2026. If UMass considers canceling the Hawaii game, there is a variety of options within a fair radius of the University of UMass, University of Massachusetts, they could go with. They could maybe book another road game against a Power Four opponent and get a nice check. They could go out and they could maybe get another FCS game if they don't have on the schedule. I haven't taken a look at UMass's schedule yet. They could maybe do something with Boston College. I know that's not technically a Power Four, but let's not take the piss here. And I don't see what's the incentive for them to travel all the way to Hawaii for a game. I I think that if they're competitive, maybe because Hawaii isn't in the right like, space right now, but I don't know. I genuinely think a lot more. I think Oregon is the first domino in a pile that's going to see a lot of teams opt out of playing in the islands because once again, what's the incentive? And right now for UMass, I don't really see an incentive for them to continue the series, even as it is at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see the incentive either. I guess like historical precedent, independent going to a conference, keeping their game against Hawaii, New Mexico State did that in 2020, well, this past year, or was it, yeah, this past year where they kept the Hawaii game and kept 5 conference games. But yeah, like there is like for a late replacement, I'm sure UMass will look at the books and Excel sheets and see that canceling the game for travel. I mean, I guess canceling the game and paying the upfront buyout um will end up benefiting them financially more than just, keeping the game. So yeah, I mean it's sad. I do love those wacky intersectional games. I mean, heck, every game against Hawaii is an intersectional game, but UMass playing Hawaii is a super intersectional game. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the I want to just talk about that real quick. I think another issue is that Hawaii ended up beating New Mexico State. and New Mexico State ended up going out there with the best seasons in program history. So that's like another factor is that there's a lot of money in bowl eligibility. Now, of course, UMass is far from being bowl eligible, but let's say they have to have one game to go and do it. Hawaii, unfortunately, is really good at ruining complete seasons. They beat New Mexico State this year, even though New Mexico State, like I mentioned, had the best years ever. They upset Colorado State to prevent them from being bowl eligible. I think that's another factor that plays into it. Is that if they look at the state of their program in a year or so and they feel that they're going to be able to compete for bowl eligibility, they might want to cancel the Hawaii game just so they can go out and get some bowl compensation. That's another angle that I think that people really should consider as we move forward.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, didn't even mention the Air Force upset too. Like
Yeah, right.
Hawaii.
That was random, and that fantastic. By the way, I'm sure I know you love that. By the way, thanks
Yeah.
to Army for softening them up before they went out to the islands. I don't think Hawaii would have been as successful if Army didn't dog walk them the week before.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I do agree. So yeah, like I mean, that being said, just an unfortunate situation. I want to see the game played, but again, common
Yeah,
sense may prevail.
I'm hopeful because I we share a lot of the same views when it comes to college football, and I love intersection games just in general. That's why I love both seasons so much. And I think that when Hawaii is able to play these games, and typically these games are in front of a national audience, they captivate imaginations from around the country. And the reason why I bring that up is because I was on TikTok this today, and I randomly saw somebody put together a compilation of Colt Brennan's best throws to Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and it was one of the most beautiful things I ever saw. And it had 14,000 likes the last time I saw it. And in the comments, you had people from all across the country talking about how what a cool era it was, how good of a player he was, and the only reason that happens is because of all these intersectional games. Because Colt Brennan played against Purdue, and he played against Arizona State, and he played against Alabama, right? Like all these randoms across the country had a chance to see him due to this. So I share the same sentiment with you. I hope UMass keeps both the home and away series, and I hope that Hawaii is able to fix the issues that are happening so that we can continue this as long as possible before college football erases it altogether.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way for us to sort of close off. I mean, again, where it's like, it's just a cool era and like everyone, I guess in a podcast I'm gonna post in the future with in another podcast, my guest said, um, it's hard to root against Hawaii. Everyone loves rooting for Hawaii. So, I mean, hopefully, they get back on their feet. I guess whether it takes 10 years or more or 5 years or whatever. But yeah, like hopefully they keep this game for sure. I mean, even then, like win or lose, UMass fans are never gonna forget that trip. Same thing with Delaware State fans. Like they're never gonna forget going to Hawaii this year for week 0. So same thing for UMass fans in 2026 and of course in 2016 when they played. So that's all I have for this recording right now. Brock, do you have any? I'll let you take this time to because I know you got I know you have I guess venues to plug and just other things to advertise. So I'll let you take the floor.
Yes, so one before we start that, I just want to say once again, thank you for having me on. This has been a pleasure. I love talking about Hawaii football with you, man. You're always keeping me trying to keep me what's the word, sharp when it comes to the program because you come calling to talk at random times and again it's such a joy. I work for Team NBS Media as you mentioned. I cover UNLV and Hawaii football intensely. For some of those who remember my old Timmy Chang Chronicles series from a couple years ago, or I guess last year, that's coming back. Now I'll be dropping a new article about that. Should be this week. More articles about UNLV. I also work for Rams Wire. So if you like the Los Angeles Rams, check me out over there. I write for them. I talk about the Rams a lot. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to another great college football season. Hawaii, UCLA. I think that that's going to be a very intriguing matchup. And all I can say is go Bows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Brock is a man for all seasons, a man of many talents. So yeah, check him out on those different platforms. Those will be in the bio, or sorry, not the bio, the description. Geez, description below. But again, thank you, Brock, for just taking time after getting off work, early in the morning out west for you in Vegas and out here for me in El Paso. And thanks everyone for joining, for listening, for watching. And until next time, everyone, I'm Omar Borja. I'm the Burger Popper, and peace, love, and soul.